Officially, ang Pilipinas po ay may worst case in terms of outbreak of COVID-19 dito sa Southeast Asia and also the worst economic contraction in the Q2 of this year. At habang lumalalang krisis, marami nagtatanong kung competent at kung may integridad ang mga relevant agencies of the government. And this is where the question of corruption becomes very important. Kung maalala nyo, si Pangulong Duterte made the issue of fighting corruption central to his 2016 campaign. So ayon kay President Duterte, just weeks before he became the president, even a whiff of corruption will be enough for you to be fired. But ayon sa mga kritiko and ilan sa mga leading statesmen sa ating bansa, we have more than a whiff of corruption. In fact, we have clear evidence of that. And the latest source of concern is PhilHealth and its leadership, especially because PhilHealth ay napakamahalaga pagdating sa provision of health insurance in the middle of the current pandemic. But wag natin kalimutan na not long ago, the Department of Health and its leadership was also under question. In fact, in June, the Ombudsman Office suggested potential investigation into misconduct or corruption in the Department of Health, particularly by its chief, Mr. Duque. In fact, isang concern is alleged anomalies over the acquisition of PPEs or yung mga protective gears para sa ating mga frontliners. But when more and more people were calling for Secretary Duque to resign, ito yung sinabi niya: I serve at the pleasure of the President. Despite a formal investigation initiated by the Ombudsman Office, the President did stick with Mr. Duque. Some would say there was more than a whiff of irregularity of anomalies, but the President was still not relenting in terms of his support for the embattled Department of Health Secretary. Now, a similar situation is occurring pagdating sa PhilHealth. And this concerns Mr. Ricardo Morales, who heads the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth. Now, the controversy started when a top anti-fraud officer within PhilHealth sounded alarm bells. According to anti-fraud legal officer Thorson Montes Keith, there is widespread corruption in PhilHealth. According to Senator Lacson, there's more than just a whiff. In fact, there's an organized syndicate or parang may mafia sa loob ng PhilHealth. But then again, even if some are suggesting that may ebidensya talaga at there was a whistleblower within the PhilHealth who raised this issue and had to resign, President Duterte or Malacanang once again refused to fire the person under suspicion. PhilHealth President Ricardo Morales, quite similar to Mr. Duque, said that he's also serving at the pleasure of the President. Ayon sa kanya, there are still things that has to be done. I'm here serving at the pleasure of the President. Until I'm needed, you know it's not easy. Like a good soldier, I'm just sticking it out. At dinagdag niya that reforms take time. There could be problems or anomalies within the PhilHealth that he inherited from previous administrations, but he's gonna make sure that he's gonna fix it. Pero sino ba talaga si Ricardo Morales? Ayon kay PhilHealth spokesperson Dr. Shirley Domingo, the history or the work of General Morales in the past, siya yung original graph buster if you'll read his works in the past. Sa tingin ko, walang makalusot sa kanya na graph dito sa corporation. So ang tingin sa kanya actually is graph buster. Now we know that he's just one of dozens of former top generals and military officials serving in very senior positions, cabinet and sub-cabinet position in the Duterte administration. And also, he's one of the many people from Davao who are in senior positions of government right now. Now, interestingly, at some point, he held very sensitive positions within the Marcos regime, including being a top security aide to former First Lady Imelda Marcos. But later on, there was a fallout with the Marcos dictatorship, and he joined the RAM, the Reform of the Armed Forces movement. And after EDSA and his retirement, he also served in different senior positions within the AFP. So that was a solid background in fields within military that are not too dissimilar from the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation. But what's really interesting with Mr. Ricardo Morales is that at one point he was a sort of a whistleblower himself within AFP, particularly during the Arroyo administration. And he paid a price for calling for greater transparency and fighting against corruption within the military. In particular, he raised concern over a 60-room resort in Boracay acquired by the Philippine military. And after posting that in public, he was relieved of his position as an army commander. And he actually directly criticized the top officers within the military by saying this shows insensitivity to the concerns and sufferings of ordinary soldiers. So no surprise, when he took charge of the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, ito yung sinabi niya. He's there to fix the organization and eliminate corruption, vowing that to make it a point that our members will renew their trust in PhilHealth. So see himself as a graph buster who paid the price for it back in the days for being a whistleblower for alleged anomalies within military, he promised that once he comes into PhilHealth, he's gonna get rid of corruption and restore public health. But now, critics have put him in the middle of a potential corruption scandal. The former whistleblower is facing his own whistleblower. And all of this is happening while the Philippines is going one of the toughest moments in its history. A twofold public health and economic crisis. Let's just hope the government gets to the bottom of this as soon as possible. Ako po si Richard Haydarian. Stand with us, stand for truth.